set. Thank you.
And we'll start recording.
This meeting is being recorded.
So welcome everyone to the Crebilly number 12 hearing. It is 5/26/2021, and with us this evening we have our Township Manager, John Alchum. We have Patrick McKenna, our solicitor. We have our board, me, I'm Chair of West Nile Township's Board of Supervisors. We have Scott Yaw. He is the Vice Chair of the Board of Supervisors. And we have Dick Pomerantz, who is our Police Commissioner. We also have many other parties, and I believe Mr. Andrew Seaman, Greg Edelman representing Toll and others. Kristen Camp is here representing the Planning Commission, and I'll let Pat go over all of them, but I want to mention a special mention for all of you residents and residents nearby or concerned parties for holding out during this very, very long hearing and being so diligent and keeping your interest up. And Pat will go over our expected final meetings and some of the details about them. And so that's all we have, I guess, 97 on right now, maybe more. And I'm going to pass it over to Pat McKenna now.
Thank you, Carol. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the continuation of the conditional use hearing from April 21st, 2021. The township is recording the hearing for assisting with the preparation of the transcript. The recording will be destroyed after the transcript is complete. As with our prior hearings, the proceedings tonight will mirror as closely as possible the process for an in-person hearing. It was apparent from the last hearing that there was some confusion on the part of some of the unrepresented parties on whether to present an evidentiary case similar to what Toll has done, similar to what the Planning Commission has done and what others have done, or instead whether to only offer public...
Connected.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need you all to be on mute, please. So there was some confusion on the part of the unrepresented parties on whether to present an evidentiary case or instead whether to only offer public comment. Given that confusion, the board is going to give all of the unrepresented parties another opportunity this evening to present any evidence that they wish the board to consider. That said, as was said the last time, you are not required to present a case, but the board wants to ensure that anyone who wants to do so is given a sufficient opportunity. In addition, tonight, Toll Brothers intends to present its rebuttal witnesses, Jeff Madden, their civil engineer, and Nicole Klein, their traffic engineer. As with the prior hearings, all of the other parties and the board will have the opportunity to ask questions of the witnesses, and then there will be a chance for redirect questioning by Toll Brothers. When asking your questions, you will be recognized and asked to unmute. If you are on the phone, please press *9 to raise your hand, and then *6 to unmute. Exhibits will be shown on the screen as a witness testifies, and they are also available on the township's website. We ask that you please enter your name on the Zoom call to assist the township with properly identifying you when called upon. Please make sure you are in a quiet location and please speak up so that all may hear you. You've heard me already ask, you'll probably hear me again. Please remain on mute unless you are speaking to reduce the extraneous noise and feedback. Our next hearing is going to be scheduled for July 12th, 2021 at 7 p.m. We're going to be located back at Ruston High School Auditorium, and we will be in person. So let me say that again. The next hearing will be Monday, July 12th, 7 p.m., Ruston High School Auditorium in person. It is anticipated that this will be the final night of hearings for this conditional use application, and we expect that it will be devoted entirely to public comment that evening. As such, you are encouraged to attend on July 12th should you wish to make a public comment. More specific instructions regarding the school's COVID-19 attendance policies will be provided to all of the parties. They'll be posted on the township website and sent via the listserv prior to the hearing. It's expected that some of the policies may change here by the end of the month, So as they are updated, we will make sure everyone is also updated on what the masking or not policy is for the auditorium. As has been our custom, we will plan to take a break around around 8:30 p.m. and to conclude the hearing probably around 9, depending on where a witness is with their testimony. I have been advised, as in prior hearings, that Mindy Rhodes is recording the hearing, so I'm asking if anyone else is recording tonight. I would ask if you are to please raise your hand through the program so that you can be identified.
I see no hands, Scott.
Thank you, Maggie. So before we turn our attention to Toll to present their rebuttal witnesses, I want to give all of the unrepresented parties an opportunity. If there's a case that you would like to make, you'll be sworn in just like any other witness. Rather than go through my list, I can do that, but that's a somewhat tedious process. Is there anyone who would like to be recognized, wants to raise their hand via Zoom and present a case tonight? I believe Randall Spackman would like to. I don't know if he's on right now. He advised that he may be a little late due to a conflict with the school board meeting. But with that being said, Maggie, is there anyone with a hand raised who would like to present tonight?
I currently don't see any hands raised through the Zoom. I'm going to go through the video.
Okay.
I see Anthony Sinkovich is.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Simkovich, why don't we have you sworn in then, please?
Mr. Simkovich, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Actually, it is more of a statement and an inclusion. I went through the Township Code, and there's a section of the Township Code, Article 4, Section 170 of the Westtown Township Code, the Pennsylvania Natural Features Protection. I'm not sure who to address this question to, but I didn't see any exhibit in the Crebilly 2 write-ups that address that specific section or article. And it's the Pennsylvania Natural Features Protection. I didn't see anything stated there. What I am requesting is that it be entered in as an exhibit for review once the Board of Supervisors is making its decision.
Well, Mr. Simkovich, as I sit here right now, I don't know if that is required under the conditional use aspect of the application. It may be required as part of the land development process, but we will certainly take a look at that when the board renders its decision. Mr. Edelman, I don't know if you know any better than I do about the natural feature protection section of the ordinance.
I don't believe it applies, but obviously the township ordinance is part of the record, so I won't object to the section being entered as to its relevance. That's left open for a determination. I don't believe it applies, though.
Right, so the township ordinance is certainly an exhibit. We always make it an exhibit by reference, so it's certainly included, Mr. Simkovich, and will be a part of any review if it's required to be so as part of the conditional use application.
Okay, fine. That's my only question.
Okay. Mr. Edelman, you have any questions for Mr. Simkovich?
No, I do not.
Okay. Any member of the board or any other member of the public have any questions for Mr. Simkovich?
No.
Thank you.
This is Doug Marshall, I do.
I'm sorry, sir, who are you?
Doug Marshall.
Sir, are you a party?
I'm not a party.
Okay, right now I'm only asking if parties have questions, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does any other party to the proceeding wish to present a case this evening? Any evidentiary case? Are we seeing any other hands up, Maggie?
I am not, no.
Is Mr. Spackman on currently? Do you know?
I have not seen Mr. Spackman be entered.
Okay, just let me know, please, if you do see him come on. I'd like to accommodate him if he'd like to present here this evening. So unless there's anything else, yes, Ms. Weller, you're raising your hand.
I don't know if I can present it now because Mr. Edelman said that I wasn't an expert witness on stormwater, but I did have some videos of the hurricane, and I sent them in there. I don't know if I should present that now or during final comment.
Well, if you'd like to testify and tell us what we're seeing, now would be the time to do it. Mr. Edelman obviously has the right to raise any objections, but we can decide that at the time. So if you'd like to do it now, we can have you sworn in, and I think we have the videos available.
Okay.
Ms. Weller, would you like me to share the screen with so that I can pull up those videos?
I would raise my objection before you put any videos up or any evidence. Again, the same objections from the last hearing are being raised as well. I don't believe that Ms. Weller is qualified to testify with respect to those videos, nor can she authenticate them to a specific level of degree of certainty that I could actually cross-examine her on those videos as well. So therefore, I don't believe they should be admissible as testimony. I don't have any objection to them being admitted as part of public comment.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Greg. Let me have her sworn in, please, first.
Ms. Weller, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Greg, back to your objection. We're going to overrule the objection and let Ms. Weller present at this time. We had 4 exhibits. I had pre-marked them Weller 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
You could go through them one at a time. That's up to you.
Well, I'll just read my statement. There are very short videos showing that Hurricane Isaias and what it did to the Radley Run and my property. So could I just, and they're only like 9 seconds long each. There's 2 of the hurricane and 2 of the same shots on a normal day. Anyway, I've got 4 videos. There was significant erosion to the banks of the Radley Run. This was on, I'm sorry if I'm backtracking, I have my notes here. This was taken on August 4th, 2020. Also, debris, which I believe maybe from Crebilly, is still in the stream. There's a 6 by 6 inch fence post and a very large bale of hay. I can only imagine what could possibly wash down, with this massive development. So anyway, I just wanted to show everybody that, and then just say that we've seen storms increasing in severity, in frequency, and damage to property all over the country. How can we not foresee that this will most likely happen in Westtown Township also in the future? How can we adequately protect vulnerable Crebilly streams that feed into the Radley Run with possibly antiquated systems that a developer will follow because it was written in the ordinance that was in effect at the time of the application? So that's my statement, and then we can show the videos of the hurricane.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen now. Give me 1 second. Carol, they're labeled a little bit differently. Which one would you like me to hit play on first?
You can hit play on. You can just go down the sequence of it.
I'm going to start with pond flooding.
Yeah. So that's like a half acre of my property that's underwater. The Radley Run overflowed banks and took over the pond. This is the same view on a normal day.
This one, pond?
Yes.
Play next.
That's what it normally looks like. And then this is the Radley Run, right at the edge of my property during the hurricane. And that's the Radley Run on a normal day. I thought it was important to take videos during the storm. That's it, those four.
That's all you had, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. John, can you take this prayer? Thank you. Greg, do you have any questions for Ms. Weller?
Yes, I do, a few. Good evening, Ms. Weller. I believe at the last hearing you stated you're not a stormwater expert, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and isn't it correct that you didn't do any specific studies, stormwater studies, or empirical analysis with respect to causes of the flooding that you just showed in those videos?
No.
Okay, and isn't it true then that you don't know whether the stormwater that ended up on your property could have come from some other property other than the Crebilly property, is that correct?
So, well, I mean, it could have come from before the Crebilly farm, but three streams run through that property.
Okay, so you don't know if the stormwater is coming from Crebilly or some other property, is that correct?
Oh, it's absolutely coming from Crebilly. I mean, it runs, downstream from Crebilly.
Isn't it possible as well that other properties that are further uphill from Crebilly also contributed stormwater to the streams that run through Crebilly?
It's possible.
So then, isn't it true you're not sure whether all of the stormwater comes from the Crebilly property, right?
I do not say that all the stormwater comes from Crebilly.
And are you aware that as part of a proposed development of the Crebilly property, that the applicant or developer will have to install stormwater management facilities on the property?
Absolutely.
I have no further questions.
Aware of that, and I'm aware that they're built by government.
I'm done. Thank you, Ms. Weller.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haley.
Thank you.
Do any of the other parties have any questions for Ms. Weller?
No.
Parties.
I do not.
Do any of the members of the board have any questions for Ms. Weller?
Carol, do you want to go first, or Scott, and then I have some?
Yeah, Carol, on your property, in addition to this Isaiah's, was it, event, have you experienced other likewise events as well, experiencing high stormwater?
Actually, there was a storm a couple of days right after that hurricane that it flooded again equally as bad, but I have not seen flooding like that since I was a little girl. Not that I've been in this house, all of my life, but as a child, I grew up here for many years, and I think I might have seen it overflow one time when I was a child like that.
In the last 3 years, let's say, have you seen any situations where you're at bankful that it goes over and into your property?
No. I haven't seen that, since before 2006. And I'm sure a long time before that, because I would have heard about it from my mother, I'm sure. She was living here then.
Excuse me. That's all I have.
Scott, do you want to go second, and then I'll follow you?
I don't have any questions.
Carol, some for me, Pomeranz. One, would you draw a picture in words? We don't have a picture of a map of your property, the location of your property, and where it meets Crebilly. Can you kind of describe it to us?
Well, my property butts up onto previous Crebilly land that is now privately owned. Just on the other side of New Street.
Okay. Carol asked you as to whether you've seen other results of other hurricanes. At least that's the way I took that.
Storm events.
And that's actually where I was going to go with this. Have you seen? We've had a lot of different storms, not necessarily hurricanes. Have there been any similar type of runs on your property from heavy rains, thunderstorms, and the like, other than one or two hurricanes?
I haven't seen anything like this since I was a child, which was many, many years ago. But like I said, I didn't live in this house. Wasn't taking care of this house till 2006, and I have not seen it overflow the banks like that.
Put yourself, if you would, in the position of board members watching the videos. What do you want us to take away from? What's the intent that you have?
Well, my intent is that, whatever the stormwater runoff situation is, whatever the design is it enough for storms of this severity, especially if they start happening more frequently? Are the systems that they're going to put into place enough to not prevent, some more episodes like this happening and being more severe?
From the way you stated that, it doesn't sound like you're saying that you are suggesting that Toll will not do the proper job or an adequate job. You're just rhetorically asking as to whether that can be assured. Is that correct?
No, I'm not asking whether that can be assured. And also, there was just one other statement that I wanted to make, and that, I really wish that there would be less impermeable surfaces in this development, and I think that if it was reduced or single-family homes were made into townhomes, the footprints would be smaller. I think that could create less stress on the streams.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. You want to finish your thought?
No, that's, I wanted to say that at the end of my statement.
No worries. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Any other members of the public want to make a case tonight? I see Neighbors for Crebilly has a hand up. Is that right?
That's correct. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir, could you just tell us your name again?
That's good. Yes, it's Vince Morrow, or Bernard Vincent Morrow, Neighbors for Crebilly, LLC.
All right, well, we have you sworn in, sir.
Mr. Morrow, if you would raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. McKenna, before you begin the testimony, I'd like to ask for an offer of proof, given that Neighbors for Crebilly was represented by counsel and they stated they had nothing else to add other than what was previously stated in a prior record that's been incorporated. It was my understanding they had no further case to present.
Mr. Morrow, what Mr. Edelman is asking is, what is it you'd like to testify to tonight?
Well, at the last hearing, towards the end there, I raised my hand to make a statement at that particular time, and it was agreed at that particular time that at this meeting during the public comment that we should be able to make that statement or offer some sort of testimony in statement so that that can be included. So a lot of times when you go through these hearings and you hear somebody else speak, it generates a lot of different thoughts, and I think I have an important thing to raise this evening and share with the people.
Mr. McKenna, I don't believe that was responsive to the request for the offer of proof. I don't have any objection to public comment or public statements, but we're here for testimony and evidence at this point in time. I don't believe that there was any response to what it is that Mr. Morrow intends to present by way of testimony.
Understand, but why don't we let him start? If he gets, once he gets going, maybe we'll have a sense of what he wants to say. Greg, you can always raise the objection again. That might be a little bit easier.
Okay. I'll reserve my right then.
That's fine. Mr. Morrow, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. At the last hearing, there was a young lady that brought up an issue of view sheds, and that was towards the end of the hearing. And it appears that has gotten a lot of attention, and there was a lot of going back and forth about that. And the one thing that I did want to offer is all throughout these hearings that we've had, every one of us, because of COVID, has gotten very, very used to introducing testimony over the internet or by way of remote access. And if we go back to Crebilly 1, we brought in a special witness from West Point, no less, to talk about view sheds, and that witness was denied by everyone, including the Board of Supervisors, because at that particular time, you didn't accept testimony over the internet, and now it's commonplace that we do. So I would like to pursue the opportunity of bringing that witness from West Point back so that he could offer testimony and talk about view sheds, their importance to Crebilly and all other national sites just in the same position as this, and incorporate that testimony into the record, because we're all now used to accepting testimony over the internet.
Mr. Morrow, I don't disagree with anything that you said in terms of the process, but we're here tonight for you to do so. Is your witness here and ready to proceed, is the question.
No, the witness is not here and ready to proceed, and it was my understanding at the conclusion of the last hearing that we were not extending additional testimony at that time. We were just going to go right into public comment. So I'm using my time right now as public comment to make that statement, but also to say that I may go back and ask our counsel to reintroduce that witness and continue and get that testimony into the record now that we are all used to accepting testimony over the internet.
Mr. McKenna, I'd object. We've been doing virtual hearings for months now, and Mr. Thompson was well aware of who his witnesses were or weren't aware during the prior hearing. They could have introduced that many times previously in our prior Zoom hearings. I believe this is just a delay tactic at this point, and I'd object to going out of procedure to allow neighbors for Crebilly to reopen their case at this time.
Mr. Moore, I will agree with Mr. Edelman. We've been doing this process now for over a year virtually, and all of the parties have had ample opportunity to prepare to present. What I'd like to do is reserve judgment. I'd like to speak with the board about that in executive session, but why don't we hold off on that since you're not going to be presenting that witness tonight in any event. I'd like to offer no ruling, but I want to discuss it with the board. We can do that later in the proceeding. If you don't have anything else to offer right now, why don't we hold that in reserve and we can keep the process going for tonight, and then we can circle back around to that before the evening is over.
I would say that can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. I would say that I disagree with Mr. Edelman. It is not a delay tactic of any kind. Like I stated earlier, a lot of times you go through these processes and you hear this stuff that reminds you that this was very, very important. And I do not think that this should be overlooked at all. And it was, like I said, my intention to get on tonight, offered public comment, and I was unaware that we were able to present testimony this evening. So I would like to have that discussion about bringing this witness back in and offer that testimony before we close this up.
All right, well, I will note for the record, I did send a letter several weeks ago to all of the parties advising that you would be given yet another opportunity tonight to present an evidentiary case. So I hope you received that letter. I think it was at least sent to your counsel. But as I said, I've heard an objection from Mr. Edelman. I hear your point of view. I'd like to discuss it with the board in a breakout room, but I'd like to keep us moving, if that's all right, and double back around to this later in the process. Go ahead, Mr. Edelman.
I'd like to add one additional thing to my objection, that to allow this would be to allow any party to reopen their case after they rested it, and that would include the developer. I believe that's highly improper on a procedural basis. Neighbors for Crebilly was and is represented by learned counsel. He knows full well of his rights in terms of presenting a case and his witnesses. I think to allow this to be reopened, I believe it's a delay tactic, but even then it's just highly improper on a procedural basis.
I understand your position.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Morrow, unless you have anything else to present right now, why don't we hold that issue in reserve, and let's move on to another party, and then I'll commit to having that conversation with the board here later this evening, and we'll make a decision for you.
Okay, so I should stay connected here and wait for your decision on that, is what I'm understanding?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Maggie, is there anyone else with their hand up at this point?
Yes, we have Ms. Grubon just raised her hand.
Oh.
Me? It's Cheryl Whalen. Sorry, it's under my son Connor. I live in Brandywine and Thornbury, about a mile, not even a mile from Crebilly. I did come into this a little bit late, but I heard you guys talking about stormwater and storms and so forth.
Wait, ma'am, I'm sorry. Who are you? I don't have your name.
Already.
Oh, sorry. Cheryl Whalen, Cheryl. I didn't know if did I have to sign up in advance to have a statement? I thought this was public comment.
We're not at the public comment point just yet.
Okay, sorry.
All right. That's okay. I'm going to ask you to hold off for right now. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, I did see a hand up for Sharon Grubal, who is a party. Ma'am, do you want to go ahead and unmute?
I just wanted to put something into the public record.
Okay. It's very difficult to hear you, ma'am. You were very low in volume. But I'm going to ask the court reporter.
Can you hear me better now?
Oh, much better, yes.
Okay.
I'm going to ask the court reporter to swear you in.
Sure.
Ms. Grubal, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I would like to make sure is part of the record is part of the PA Constitution, Article 1, Declaration of Rights, Section 27, which is about natural resources in the public estate. So I wanted to make sure that I read that into the record so you would consider it.
I'm going to object. This is legal argument, not testimony at this time.
And ma'am, the board is well aware of the Environmental Rights Amendment. Obviously, it's in the Constitution, so we can take judicial notice of that fact.
Okay.
They are bound by, obviously, the contents in the Constitution, and we actually did discuss and address it in Crebilly 1.
Okay, all right. So I just, like I said, I just want to make sure that that's part of it, that they know that, you know, that is something that we want to make sure that is thought about, so.
Understood. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's it for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Edelman, I assume no cross on that?
That's correct.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Grubauer? Okay. Anyone else? Maggie with their hand up?
Nope, I do not see any more hands.
All right. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your help. Mr. Edelman, at this point, why don't we turn to your rebuttal witnesses then?
That's fine, Mr. McKenna. I just want to make sure that Mr. Spackman hasn't logged in, just to make sure.
We can check. I don't see him on, no.
Okay, that's fine. So if I may proceed with my first rebuttal witness, I'd like to recall Mr. Madden to testify.
Sure. And Mr. Madden, I'll remind you, you're still under oath from your prior testimony.
Okay. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening.
Good evening. Were you present at the virtual Zoom hearings when the township engineer, Robert Flinchbaugh, testified on behalf of the planning commission?
Yes, I was.
And have you had an opportunity to review Mr. Flinchbaugh's transcript of his testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall that he testified he was uncertain how the applicant calculated the total density per acre and impervious coverage ratio for multifamily or townhome sections of the proposed developments?
Yes.
Okay. And was this the first time that you had heard that comment from the township engineer regarding those aspects of the proposed development?
Yes.
And subsequent to his testimony, did you supply him with additional information with respect to those calculations?
Yes.
I'd like to show you what I've marked as Exhibit A82, which is sheet 12A, entitled Density Calculations, Original Conditional Use Layout, and I believe it's prepared by ESE Consultants. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and did you prepare this exhibit in response to Mr. Flinchbaugh's testimony and his comments?
Yes.
And does Exhibit A82 depict the same layout as the August 9, 2019 conditional use plan that was submitted as Exhibit A65?
Yes.
Okay, and if you could, using Exhibit A82, tell us, how did you calculate the total density per acre for the townhome sections of the proposed development?
Sure. Using ordinance section 170-904E1A, the area of 135 townhomes is 23.5 acres. This consists of the dark and the light shading shown in this exhibit. The area for the calculation is to include the net area of the townhome area only. This excludes common, open space, and rights of way of public streets. The common open space was not included in the shading. To get the net area, the dark